Yes, as I was saying, that the world that we are living in today is not the world that our parents or our education prepared us for. We are living in a very different reality today, one that is evolving into where technology is changing everything. And it is no different when it comes to the world of finance. And our topic this evening is design your own financial future, which in itself is quite a remarkable idea because the vast majority of us that live today on this planet in modern societies, or rather just around the world, we are not um, in that place where we can experience or where we can have the wherewithal to be able to literally design the financial futures that we so desire. But this evening, I want to bring that reality home. And this is not going to be any hype. This is as real as it's going to get. It's about building sustainable financial security. We are living in a time where we are seeing a lot of diverse, the separation between the wealthy and those who are trying to make a living. That gap is getting increasingly wider. Most of us are living paycheck to paycheck, most households today. And so there is need for the information that we're talking about. Tonight, this is the first step of you investing your time to be here to listen to this information. But should you find value in it, if it resonates with you, and you decide to join us on this journey where you can significantly change your life financially, it's the beginning of where we are going to learn and grow together, where we're going to earn in ways that are unprecedented, that never existed before, and bring ourselves to financial freedom. I want to emphasize that this is not about joining something where you can earn some extra income to help to make month to month living easier or more affordable. While it might include that, what we're talking about is building something sustainable that is going to take you throughout your years. We're not looking for quick fixes. We are looking to position ourselves financially now in the moment, but more so to position ourselves in such a way that we are going to be able to secure our financial future for years to come. There is a scripture that says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children. I have never in my lifetime been part of an enterprise or a venture of any kind where that scripture is more real than what I'm going to share with you tonight. So let us progress and move our way into the presentation. Because we're going to be talking about money, I need to present this income disclaimer. We are going to talk about some figures. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not giving any investment recommendations. And so this is all information and educational purposes. For us to be able to really capture what we're going to be talking about tonight, I want to share with us three economic realities. Because what I'm talking about and what I want to communicate to you tonight is not about getting involved in something as much as it is being able to participate in the growing and evolving digital economy that all of us are faced with today, how to participate in that more effectively. To understand that, we need to understand or revisit the economic framework that we're all familiar with, which we call the centralized economy. And this is one where our income is based primarily on participation. This is where we trade value and labor for money. And we get into a cycle, a routine cycle of existence where it's just about survival. And there's very little progress that we make in life. In this economic environment, the value that we bring into society, that value is not necessary, does not necessarily circulate back to us fairly because it concentrates to the top. most of the value and the income generating potential it is extracted upwards. In this environment, our income is limited by the system that dictates how it moves. And financial security is very fragile. Why? Because it's only based on our participation. So that means that if something should happen and we're not able to participate in the economy, we're not able to put out any effort, our income is going to stop, making it very fragile. In this environment, we just work for money. It shapes a mindset that happens unconsciously, and a mindset of limitation, that is, and financial freedom remains out of reach for the vast majority of us. But within this centralized economy, there is a small sector that experience a different economic reality. We can call it the sovereign economy. The sovereign economy are those within the centralized economy that own assets, systems, and infrastructure that generate value. Their their income is not based on effort because their income and their revenue is based on the assets that they own. This is where ownership of assets gives control over your income. It removes the limitations of how much you can earn. And much of the assets and the infrastructure and the systems that are owned by this minority are the ones that govern how we participate in the centralized economy. When we are in this place of a sovereign economy, financial stability becomes more real and it unlocks financial security. This is where we can begin to build the financial security that we desire. The thing is, very few people that participate in a centralized economy, which is all of us, very few of us will ever make it to where we experience the reality of a sovereign economy, where we own systems, we own infrastructure, we own assets that continuously generate value, where our money is working for us, where we move from working for money to money working for us. It's important for us to understand the distinction between these two because this is where the big gap of inequality exists in society today between those who are striving to make a living and those who are getting wealthier and wealthier. This is the gap that exists between these two. But because of the digital reality of our world and how it's evolving, particularly within the realm of global finance, a new economy is emerging. It has emerged and it's currently emerging, and many of us are not aware of it. And that's why I want us to understand that this evening is about how we can participate in this new economy that's emerging. It is the best of participation in the centralized economy and the owning of assets and infrastructure and systems. This ecosystem economy is where technology unites participation and ownership. In this economy is built on ownership, it is sustained by participation, and it is scaled through technology. And this is the world that we're in today. I want us to be aware and open our minds because we are in a time where that's right before our eyes. The world that we live in is not the world that we have been prepared for by our education. And our children are coming up in a world that we need to prepare for them. And it's a world that's going to become unrecognizable in a few short years. And so in this ecosystem economy, it is an open economy. It is inclusive. There is no top and bottom. In this economy, there is the gap between the wealthy and the struggling dissolves. There is no financial inequality inside of this system. Can you imagine that? Value does not concentrate upward. The value that comes through this system, it circulates to all who participate in it. That's important because in this ecosystem, in this economy, everyone succeeds financially. By that, I don't mean that there are a few that might get left out. I mean everyone. There is no one within this ecosystem economy that does not succeed financially. And it's just a matter of how much you want to succeed financially in it. And that's purely based on individual participation. In this economy, currency increases in value, whereas in decentralized economy, currency decreases in value. There is no way that the average person can secure their future financially by existing within the parameters of a centralized economy. And most of us will not make it to the sovereign economy. But within the ecosystem economy, everyone is going to make it. Technology automates continuous income. And that is something that most of us are not familiar with. Some things I'm going to say tonight where we may think, oh, that sounds too good to be true. But if you had said 5 years ago that you could stand up in a city in America and call an Uber and it's going to pull up and there's going to be no driver, that might have sounded the same way. Or you could have been walking through a major airport, wanted a cup of coffee, and walk up to a barista, and the barista, you make your order, you swipe your card, you tap your phone, and the barista makes the coffee, and you never saw a human being. It was a robot that did it. These things might have seemed out of reach before, but this is the world that we're living in. And so income is now automated. Automated income is a reality that exists today. It has existed for a long time, but it has reached new levels today. So in this world, financial inclusion is what drives economic growth inside an ecosystem economy. I want you to think for a minute, open your minds that this is not, I'm not speaking about an economy that is existing in a vacuum, but one that is a worldwide shift that's taking place that many of us are walking into it unaware. But tonight, because you are here, you are going to get a glimpse of what this economy is and how it can change the financial future of everyone that participates in this economy. And so, what makes this work? What makes it so reliable and makes the income so sustainable is because it's built on the 5 economic laws of sustainable wealth. This pertains to every economy. But the ecosystem economy I'm going to be talking about tonight, the economy and the ecosystem itself is what is bringing value to the world. It is solving global problems, meeting global needs, and it is serving global society. And as long as we participate in this economy, we are participating in the creation of that value. Because in this economy, everyone owns assets, owns infrastructure, and owns systems. And you're going to understand how this unfolds. Because we own, we have ownership. And ownership is always the doorway to the pathway to wealth. We get to determine how what we own, the value that it generates for us, we get to determine how we want it to grow, how we want to scale it. And that is done through the 3rd law called leverage. Leverage is how things grow and increase without increasing our effort, because the assets that we own is what's generating the value. Within our ecosystem, there are tools, resources, and systems available to us that we can use to leverage what we own to increase its value. That naturally flows into the 4th law, which is compound growth. Compound growth is when the growth begins to accelerate, because the more it increases, the faster it begins to grow. And that is compound growth. That naturally flows into the 5th and final law called stewardship. Stewardship is where all that has been increased by what is owned, it flows right back to those who participated in the value in the first place. So in other words, all the increase flows back to all the participants within the ecosystem in an increased measure. So therefore, sustainable wealth truly is the flow of value that is secured by ownership. It is expanded through leverage, accelerated through compounding, and is preserved through stewardship, creating shared prosperity. This is something that the world is unfamiliar with, but in time to come, we will become more and more familiar with it because this is an evolution that's taking place worldwide. And so we are with an institution, a global institution that is at the forefront of bringing this and making this available to the average person. This is what makes the ecosystem economy work and work so well that we're not just earning income for today, we are building sustainable wealth. And by the way, these 5 laws apply to any economic structure anywhere on the planet. Now, so as we enter this world of digital finance, which is reshaping the global landscape and the global economy, we're not just talking about digital finance in terms of our debit and credit cards, because we've been using digital finance for a long time. But we are speaking about the new threshold that is being crossed now in the digital financial world, which is how technology is being used to create, move, manage, and increase money faster, more connected, and it's more accessible than it's ever been in the history of mankind. So we are now creating money differently, moving it, managing it, and increasing it differently. It's happening because there are 5 dimensions that are shifting the global economy. One is new governance. There is new regulatory governance and legislation regarding digital currencies, cryptocurrencies, and it's all over the news, it's all over the financial world that digital currencies are now legal tender. In fact, as of last month, the 1st of April last month, all banks in the United States can now custody crypto and digital assets for anyone. You can now pay your mortgage with cryptocurrencies. You can now invest in the major investment companies in the United States and in North America and all across Europe using digital currencies now. So this is not something that is coming, something that's about to come. This is happening worldwide. And like any major global innovation, it takes a while for the average person to catch up with it. Those of us who are in at the very beginning of it, we get that early advantage to where we can benefit even more. Now, what's driving this change is technology, specifically blockchain technology, which is what's enabling Web3, which is the new layer or the new advent of the internet, and it is what enables decentralized ownership. That is something, a concept that many of us may not be familiar with. But out of blockchain technology, which the entire world is migrating to, every aspect of society, not just finance, is going to be migrating to blockchain technology. But with that comes decentralized finance. So we have decentralized ownership, which now makes ownership accessible. Decentralized finance, it makes finance more accessible and more financial inclusion that did not exist before. It now is also bringing on access through fractional ownership of real world assets, a concept called tokenization, which if you're not familiar with it, you want to look it up because it's the biggest economic driver in the world today. And the loudest, largest, and most respected voices in global finance today, they're all saying in the next 3 to 5 years, all assets across all financial markets are going to be tokenized assets. So that's something. But here's what it means for you and I. All of this shift, it's now enabling and empowering communities around the world in ways that was not accessible before. You and I, because of this shift that's taking place, now have access to something that the world has never seen. This evolution represents the greatest transfer of wealth in history to the average person. You and I, and when I say transfer of wealth, I'm not talking about the flow of money where the rich is getting richer, that they're going to turn it around and start to distribute it out to the masses. That's not how it's happening. It's just that what the rich has had access to, that has built their fortunes, that was inaccessible to the average person before, has now become across the board and across the world has become accessible to the average person. How? Anyone can now own valuable assets without needing large capital. We now have open access to owning infrastructure and systems in a way that has never been accessible in human history before. As a result of that, we can receive lifetime passive income daily. And when I say passive, I'm talking about automated income. Can you imagine that every day of your life, 7 days a week, 365 days, you have automated or passive income coming to you every day for the rest of your life because of the assets that you own, systems that you own? Let me give you an example of a system that creates automated income. Take a streaming system, streaming technology like Netflix. Netflix have over 300 million subscribers, and their smallest subscription is $10 a month. That means they have a system that it does not require human intervention. It is an automated system. But every month, $3 billion is collected. They're earning $3 billion automatically just because 300 million people are paying $10, $10 being extracted from their card every month. That's a system that's earning 3 billion every month. Now we actually have access to such things. So can you actually be earning income every day, paid to you every day, 365 in perpetuity? Yes, you can. And I'm going to show you how. Not only that, you get to decide how much that income can be. Have you ever had that opportunity before? This has not been available before. Not only that, you get to determine how sustainable you want it to last. This has never been available to humankind on this planet before. This is why this is the greatest wealth transfer. Again, this is not something that's happening in a vacuum. This is something that's happening worldwide. It's just that most people are sleepwalking into it because they're unfamiliar. So, how is this happening? How is this actually accessible? Well, we can own the value that creates our financial future through the company that's leading the world in shaping the future of digital finance. The company is called Metaterra. Metaterra is a holding company that has over 20 companies under its umbrella, one of which is its fintech agency called Bellator. Bellator is the agency that gives us access to the Miracle ecosystem, which is a global economic infrastructure that bridges the old traditional world of finance and this new digital decentralized world of finance. And it's the only company in the world that is actually doing what it is doing. There are other companies that have aspects of it, but on the scale of what Metaterra is doing, it's not being done, and much of what it's doing has never been done before. Now, you need to know, is this company viable? Is it credible? How sustainable is it? Who's behind this company? Does it have long-lasting vision? How strong a foundation is it built on? You need to know these things to know that, because if we're going to be talking about building a secure financial future, we need to know that what we are participating in has the potential and the wherewithal to be able to have that longevity. And so the company is built on a very strong foundation. In fact, the strongest capital foundation that we could have. And is built on that corporate accountability because we are a publicly traded, NASDAQ listed company. You cannot get stronger than that. Why? Because as a publicly traded company, your operations, your financials must be made open to the public. But more than that, it must be made open to the scrutiny of the regulatory authorities that governs the financial markets and the financial system. And these financials must be supplied quarterly to the authorities. Not only that, it is important to also know who's behind it, because as a publicly traded company, the executive branch needs to be scrutinized by the governing and federal authorities to ensure that everything is compliant, everything is trustworthy, and everything is sound. The company has a global footprint, and we have offices, logistic offices in 13 countries. We just opened a new office last month in Africa because Africa is a very fast emerging global market today. We are the only decentralized fintech blockchain enterprise that has physical stores that you can walk into, hand cash over the counter, and receive digital currencies, or vice versa. Transfer digital currencies to their account and receive cash over the counter. So in Amsterdam, Berlin, and Luxembourg, we have physical stores, and we're now opening our first physical store in the United States in New York in June of this year. So Metaterra Holdings is a company that has a very strong foundation built on regulatory compliance. But who's behind it? That's important, because you don't want to know that these are some wealthy entrepreneurs trying their hand at something. They are very wealthy individuals, but these are very seasoned veterans in the world of finance. Hakan Turhan is the visionary and the CEO that crystallized this vision back in 2017 and has been building it out since then. His background is in legal affairs. He went into corporate to banking, and he's largely responsible for a lot of the infrastructure of banking in Turkey, which is where he resides. He is joined by Mr. Michael Thierd, who is a fintech education. His specialty is in that area and global expansion. He joined Hakan along the way, and over the last few years, they have built Miracle Technologies, which is what built the Miracle ecosystem over the last 8 years. Where we are today, it took 8 years to bring us to where we are. What they have developed attract the attention of a Wall Street icon, a man by the name of Mr. Douglas Anderson, who is the CEO of Wall Street Capital Partners, one of the most recognized corporate investment firms on Wall Street. He's well known. When you look at his board of directors, who sits on his board in his company, it reads who's who in the world of government and finance globally. So he is pretty much an icon of himself. He is not just the chairman of our company. His company has partnered with our company because it's representing the future of finance in a way that no one else is. Along with him comes Mr. Stephen Norris. Mr. Stephen Norris is the founder and CEO of Cedar Capital, an equity investment company. He's also the co-founder of the Carlyle Group, which people would know today comprises large financial institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and so on. And so he has decades, both of these gentlemen have decades in the financial arena. They're recognized globally. Mr. Norris also advises governments when it comes to finances. And I would encourage you, if you so desire, look up these men individually and see their accomplishments and what they have done. And what I'm touching on is nothing to what these veterans have done over the years. They're also joined by, and by the way, Mr. Norris is, he's one of his company has partnered with us as well. And Mr. Russ Gerson, and he is responsible for strategic corporate development, which is his forte. He is the CEO of the Russ Gerson Group, which deals with corporate finance. He's also formerly the vice chairman of Citigroup, which is a large banking institution in the United States. So the people that's leading this company are veterans that's been in the industry of global finance for years, and they are supported by a world-class advisory board, Mr. Stephen Norris. Those of us living in the United States may know him or recognize him because he's often on national TV. He is one of the go-to in the United States when it comes to economic affairs and the economy. He was appointed by the Trump administration to chair the Federal Reserve, and he declined from that position, wanted to stay in private office, but he accepted a seat on our board. Mr. John Bear, those of us in the technology world may recognize his name. He is a digital technology pioneer. He was at the beginning of cell phone technology. He is the architect of streaming technology and set the global standards for that. He is the founder of Widevine, which was acquired by Google, and his technology formed part of Google's backbone until today. And so people like Monica Profit, she's Sustainable Finance. She wrote the book that is growing in popularity called Blockchain 101, a book on blockchain cryptocurrencies and the fintech industry. She lectures at universities like Princeton and MIT. Fernando Vildasola, his company is a multi-billion-dollar company that's traded on the NASDAQ. He sits on our board as our cross-border trade expert. And of course, we have Mr. Paul Randall, who heads the world's leading credit authority company in the world. Governments from around the world consult with this company when they're setting up credit systems, credit bureaus for banking institutions, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, between our company and our executive board, behind them, our legal teams, our engineers, and we have a company that's built on very solid foundation. These gentlemen don't think in terms of a few years. These are gentlemen that think in these capital markets. They think in terms of setting up infrastructure that will last for decades. And this is who we have that's steering our ship into these new uncharted waters of the digital economy that's unfolding before us. The Miracle ecosystem, there are three things that I want to point out to us that distinguishes us from every blockchain enterprise or platform or ecosystem that exists on the planet today. We are a global group of companies that's interconnected across digital platforms by an AI-enhanced blockchain infrastructure, the only one of its kind to date. It is the future of global banking, finance, and commerce and enhanced lifestyles. What the Miracle ecosystem represents, it is the first that's leading the way into this new economy. We call it an architecture of value because, as I explained earlier, how it worked within the 5 laws of sustainable wealth, it is a revenue sharing environment where participation, ownership, and enterprise come together. And it's creating a perpetual flow of value based on worldwide financial activity. I know this is a lot to take in, but I want to create a context and conceptual understanding so that what I'm going to say later on is how it fits in with you and I and the potential that we have to earn, it will be able to have a context of understanding. So understand, here we have this global ecosystem economy. It's ownership based and it's a revenue sharing environment. We want to be able to capture how that really works. We are a global banking infrastructure and the only one that exists today within the crypto blockchain space with a core banking switch. These are distinctions that separates the Miracle ecosystem from every blockchain enterprise in the world. A core banking switch is necessary for the expanse of what we have because value must be able to flow throughout the entire ecosystem in a way that is smooth and coherent. And a core banking switch is, is the technology that's used only by global banking infrastructures like central banks. Normal national banks don't require such technology, but we have that technology and it's necessary. And to notice distinction when you see the expanse of our system. Let me give you a glimpse of it. This is not to confuse you. This has a purpose in why I'm showing you this. Just let your eyes settle into it. This is one platform that has limitless earning potential, and the entire ecosystem is ownership based. When you participate in this, you're doing so as someone who owns assets, owns infrastructure, or owns systems, or a combination. Now, there is no way that we can get in to all of this. I just want to give you the sense that this global financial infrastructure, it has such a wide span that there's no way we can get it there. But I do want to highlight these 6 areas because this touches something that we're all a part of or will become increasingly a part of as we continue to evolve in this digital world. The Miracle Chain is our blockchain platform, but because the world is migrating to blockchain and tens of thousands of companies are already doing it, and because it forms the new layer of the internet, we're all going to participate in blockchain technology. Miracle Pay, this is a global payment system, which I'm going to touch on. And all of us are buying every day. Every day we are swiping our cards, tapping or inserting our cards. All around the world, billions of people are buying stuff online, buying stuff in stores, buying stuff in the groceries, spending money. Now you're going to see how that fits in. Miracle Neo is a banking infrastructure where our traditional bank and our digital economy is linked together as one. I can move my digital assets into my traditional bank, and I can move traditional fiat currency into my digital account because it bridges both of them together. Intelligentsia AI is something that is going to become, perhaps, I believe, the hottest thing that our company provides because the entire world is going to go to AI. It's happening right now. Between now and 2030, they anticipate 4 to 6 billion people are going to be functioning AI. AI is going to become like our cell phones, where nobody's going to be functioning without AI. But the capabilities of AI, what this platform does, it brings together the best and at the highest level. So whether it is ChatGPT, whether it is Claude, whether it is Gemini, and 3 other frontier AI applications and tools that covers every industry that you can think of, from regenerative AI to agentic AI, everything is encompassed in this one platform. When you use this, you don't need to go outside of this for any type of AI enhancements or capabilities. We're not going to talk about that tonight. EquiToken, this is the biggest economic engine driving commerce today, which is the tokenizing of real world assets, and Score ID. We are all involved in these things today, whether we are aware of it or not. But tonight, I'm only going to touch on these 3, the Miracle Chain, Miracle Pay, and EquiToken, just to show how it translates into our participation as ownership and what that results in potential to earn. Understanding that when you participate in this global economy, you are earning from every single company. These are all companies with global reach. And once you participate in this company, you are earning from every single transaction or service that's taking place in every single one. That is going to be a little bit too much to digest tonight, but I'm going to touch on just these three. So before we do that, I want to say this because to bring it more at home when it comes to the money. Show me the money. People say every blockchain enterprise that exists today on the planet, they all have the native token or the native cryptocurrency. Blockchain, Bitcoin has its blockchain, its own Bitcoin blockchain. Ethereum has its Ether coin. Miracle Ecosystem has Phoenix token, which is the first cryptocurrency of its kind that has global interoperable transactional demand. There is no cryptocurrency ever developed on the planet that has real world transactional value like the Phoenix. None of them have interbank operations. None of them are involved in the type of payment systems that we have, tokenizing projects. It's the first cryptocurrency of its type. That's important to know. Why? Because when you understand how currencies gain their value, then it becomes important to understand why this stands apart as well. So let's now move on. This entire ecosystem is run by blockchain technology. And blockchain technology is what's shaping the future of the world, not just the future of finance. And that will become clearer. But just know that this is one platform, but it has limitless earning potential. So let's start. We're going to look at Miracle Chain, Miracle Pay, EquiToken, and that's all we're going to look at for tonight. These are the ones which the earning potential is so huge that it would actually seem unbelievable, but we are actually already beginning to experience it. But this we will do on another session. I'm thinking perhaps Tuesday, perhaps Wednesday, I would like to talk about the AI part of it, which works along with our score ID and what that would mean as another sector, because the earning from that is vastly different. So let's go look at our blockchain technology. Miracle Chain is our AI-enhanced Layer 2 blockchain network, and it's intelligently powering the digital economy. This is what connects our entire ecosystem. This is what automates our income, automates all the services, and everything runs on blockchain technology. This short video, which is just over a minute, gives you some sense of what our blockchain enterprise is all about.
Welcome to the future of business. Miracle Chain, where blockchain meets automation and AI transforms how companies grow. Imagine onboarding customers with a tap, paying teams worldwide in seconds, and launching token ecosystems without writing a single line of code. With Iterato, your sales force becomes unstoppable. AI handles the follow-up, while gamification drives viral growth. Need to launch your own token? Miracle Launchpad and DEX give you everything: pre-sales, vesting, swaps, and full control. The Miracle Wallet simplifies finance. No seed phrases, just seamless access to crypto. Commissions and payments, secure, compliant, and easy to white label. And at the core, Miracle Chain. A private layer 2, built for scale, compliance, and automated global payouts. Whether you're selling online or in-store, Miracle Pay bridges fiat and crypto so you can do business anytime, anywhere. Miracle Chain. Powering the digital economy, one smart system at a time.
What I would like us to take away from this is, like other blockchains, the infrastructure is community owned. It's owned by a community. So now let's connect the dots and track with me as we move forward. This entire ecosystem, this global ecosystem, then it's powered by blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is owned by a global community of hundreds of thousands of people. Now, how does that work? So let's take a look. Let's look at Miracle Pay. Let's look at our global payment system. Our global payment system, which is called Miracle Pay, is a revolutionary payment gateway that seamlessly integrates both traditional financial systems and the digital crypto economy, meaning that what makes our crypto payment system different to others that might be out there is that whether you have a regular Visa or MasterCard or American Express, you can utilize our system. If you have a crypto-enabled debit card, you can use our system. If you have a digital wallet with cryptocurrencies, you can use our system. And our system converts any crypto, it supports over 200 cryptocurrencies. So whatever cryptocurrency you may have on your phone, you go to a point of sale in a restaurant, in a supermarket, and you tap your phone, or you have a crypto-enabled debit card, you do that, and it immediately, instantly converts from crypto into fiat currency. And so it doesn't matter. We cover the entire spectrum of payment systems. And now this short video gives you an idea of how it takes us into this realm of ownership.
You've probably heard the saying, if only I were early. Early to Bitcoin, early to Amazon, early to Tesla. Well, here it is again. But this time, it's not about hype. It's about owning the rails of a new financial system. Introducing CPU nodes, digital assets that earn daily from real crypto transactions happening worldwide. Every time someone pays with crypto, in-store or online, a small fee powers the network. And if you own a node, you get paid. These nodes are already paying every single day in a digital currency undervalued today, but set to explode in the months ahead. We've secured contracts with 4 global terminal providers, giving us access to over 100 million active merchants. And we're also integrated with major online retailers, processing billions each month. When even a small percentage of that volume transacts in crypto, node rewards skyrocket. The system is active. Payouts have begun. We're funding our aggressive expansion, not with Wall Street, but with everyday people like you. Together, we're decentralizing wealth by owning the new infrastructure of money. Timing is everything. Own a node now and earn every day for life.
So we have a global ecosystem, numerous companies functioning on one platform, powered by blockchain technology. How does a node, how does that relate to the blockchain? Here's how. But before I show you that, these are the 4 major terminal providers that are partnered with our company. Ingenico and Pax are the 2 largest payment providers in the world. Now, sometimes people may think that these terminals that we may tap our phone or swipe our card belongs to Visa or MasterCard. Those are payment systems that Visa, MasterCard, and other cards may use. Well, before these account for over 160 million merchants around the world in 120 countries. And our Miracle Pay software is now integrated into these 4 major terminal providers. So when someone makes a payment, and that's just in store, but Shopify, and then there's also a very large online provider that's also, which we'll hear about very soon, that's also going to be integrating our Miracle Pay software. So whether it's online or in store, when payments are made with crypto, why would people make payments with crypto? Well, the whole world is evolving into digital currencies and payment systems. And there are millions of people around the world that have trillions of dollars in cryptocurrency with no way to transact them seamlessly and as easily as this system allows them to do. And now that there's regulations and there is legislation for now, and crypto is now legal tender, that's going to be an evolution that we're going to see that's going to be evolving over time. And so imagine that every time billions of people around the world are using the card to pay, and we are accounting for 85% of the global terminals, our payment system is integrated in. Now, imagine that every time a transaction happens, you're going to receive part of the fee for that, and I'll show you how. So this is how it comes together. The global infrastructure of the blockchain network is built upon CPU nodes, which is just licensed software. It is software and that validates, records, and secures every transaction across the network. Now, I want you to go back to that picture that I put up with how that the whole network of the ecosystem, every transaction that's taking place in every sector across the network, it requires movement of the Phoenix token. I think I neglected to mention that Phoenix token, which is our native currency, is involved in every single transaction in every sector of the ecosystem. But every sector performs its transactions because of the computing software upon which the blockchain is built. So get it. The blockchain runs and powers the entire ecosystem and every section that's going on, every company that's going on inside of there. But the blockchain is built on CPU nodes, and the CPU nodes are owned by tens or hundreds of thousands of people all over the world. So did you get that? The infrastructure that runs the entire economy is owned by you, I, and everyone. It's legally owned and it's owned for life. And so once you own this, you're literally owning the digital real estate that the company entire infrastructure is built on and is powered by. Now, I want to just show you this short, which is a minute long. And what this gentleman is going to talk about, he's not associated with our company, but what he's saying is as much applicable, and then I'm going to break it down right after, to what's happening here with us. Take a listen.
Did make millions of dollars in crypto, but I don't trade crypto and I don't buy crypto. I make it. So I started making Bitcoin at $220. That in itself is crazy. So we started mining Bitcoin. We were making a lot of money. We were like, man, if Bitcoin ever gets to $10,000, we're going to be rich. This guy that was mentoring me, he was worth $100 million. I became one of his top guys. And at that time, I didn't know anybody worth that kind of money. It just sounds preposterous to the average person. For the next 7 years, I learned software instead of hardware mining. So when you mine Bitcoin, you have a physical piece of machine. You plug it into the network. It confirms transactions, you make Bitcoin. On the platform that we launched, which was a company called Gala Games, we worked with Snoop, the death row chain that Snoop gave me, kind of crazy. And instead of hardware, we had software. So these software nodes will confirm transactions on the blockchain. Every time you buy something on that blockchain, sell something, move some money back and forth, there's a fee. That fee goes up in the cloud and it's split evenly between the node owners. So that very first blockchain that we launched, I only put 15,000 in. And for 2.5 years, those nodes just confirmed transactions. I had about 17 million tokens in my wallet. I watched it go from less than a penny to 5 cents, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 84 cents in a matter of like 5 months. So I went from $11,000 in software nodes to having over 11.4 million liquid currency.
So I just highlight a couple of things he said. You would capture from that, and if you're not familiar with it, there's lots of information on the internet that you can, and on YouTube that you can get about it, that the nodes, they are actually doing two things. The nodes are actually producing the currency. It's producing the coins which he accumulated 17 million over 2.5 years. And as it rose in value, it translated into that. That's what I wanted you to capture from it. Our Phoenix token is perhaps the most utility dense token. His token that he's talking about is just from a platform called Gala Games. It's just a gaming platform. We have a gaming platform as part of our network as well. And just from that one platform, that's what has happened. The Phoenix token has such large utility density. Our gaming platform, our banking infrastructure, our tokenizing, payment systems, loan applications, everything that happens in the ecosystem requires this. As I told you before, the density of utility is unlike any other cryptocurrency that's out there. That speaks volumes to the value. So what does that mean? Well, when it comes to the payment systems, you can own a Miracle Pay node, and it will earn you every day for life, just like the video said. So I'm going to break down two things right now. One, the early adoption advantage, which is where the CPU node generates 80 plus Phoenix tokens a day, plus the daily earnings that you get. So what we have is better than what that gentleman was talking about, in that we're not just producing the Phoenix token by our nodes generating that, it's also tied to a global payment system from which we receive benefits from every transaction taking place worldwide. So let's look at those two sections. The early ownership advantage. This is where we are looking ahead and we are building something that is going to last. This is the first phase. And what I'm talking about is only one node. The short that you just looked at with Billy, his name is Billy Warmack, in case you want to look him up. He had multiple nodes that was producing for him. This is one node. This is the Miracle Pay node. Now, let's just say, let me just grab my calculator very quickly, just so that I could just do this quickly. Let's use 80 Phoenix token a day. That is 2,400 Phoenix token a month. And let's say you were to accumulate them for 36 months. Because we are looking at a building phase, 24 to 36 months of accumulating our Phoenix token. Why? Because this is strategic building of something that is going to last for years. Here's how. 2,400 tokens a month, let's say for 36 months, that's 86,400 tokens you would have accumulated. And it could even have been more, because within the system, there are tools that you can use to leverage what you're earning to increase it. For example, you can stake, which is like putting it on a fixed deposit that regains interest. So there are different ways that you can actually use to accumulate it. Let me not get into all of that. But let's say in 36 months, the Phoenix token rises to, let me just tell you, the Phoenix went on to the exchange, onto the crypto exchanges in the last quarter of 25. By January of 26, it rose 700%, increasing its value. The payment systems was launched in February. And since then, our gaming platform was launched, our score platform was launched, and now we're rolling out some new things. The demand for it is growing. Now, I'm going to just make a very, very conservative estimate and say that, let's say in 3 months, the Phoenix token got to $10. And that is ridiculously low for a density utility coin like this. When you consider all the other cryptos on the market, let's say the top 5, and how they've gained their value, and none of them have real world transactional demand. But let's say it got to $10 in 3 years. Let's multiply that by 10. That's $864,000 in a 3-year period. It could be 10, it could be more. What if it was 20? Then that's almost $2 million. But what you can do with that now can set yourself in such a way, and that's part of the knowledge that you will gain, of how you can take that and set it in a way that it can now last you for years to come without running short. So it's just learning to how to use the system. The second thing is daily earnings. We're going to take 5% of the over 100 million merchants that's integrated with the integrated Miracle Pay system. 5%, let's say only 5% adopted and we're using it. That's 5 million merchants. And we're going to assume that they're going to do $300 per day in crypto transactions, which right now is less than 1% of what they're doing, the 4 merchants that we have. That equates to less than 1%. That's a very conservative estimate. Miracle Pay transaction fee is 2%. So 2% of the 1.5 billion is 30 million a day. The node owners earn between 10 to 30% of the transaction fee. I'm going to use the 10%. 10% of 30 million is 3 million a day. It could be more, but let's stick to 10%. 20% of that 3 million goes towards the network community. I highlighted this in a different color for a purpose because I want you to remember that. 20% goes into the network community. You'll see what that means. Now, what is remaining, the 20% is 600,000. Taken from that, we have $2.4 million, sorry, and that is shared between the node owners. This particular node only will have 210,000 node owners. The vast majority of these nodes have already been acquired. I am not sure what the number is. I heard recently that I think about 90% of these nodes have already been acquired, but there will only ever be 210,000 of these nodes. When you look at that, it sounds like small, $11.43 a day. So that's extra 300 a month, over 4,000 a month. But what if it is that you had more than one node? And this is, remember, this is being paid daily. This is being paid in perpetuity. It never stops being paid to you every day. What if it was 10%? What if between now and 20 and 30, it was just only 20% adopted it? Well, you could be looking at an extra 15,000 a year. And that's just passive automated income that's coming in, and then multiply that by the number of nodes that you may possibly have. That's the potential, and this is just one asset. There are multiple assets that you could own. Finally, I'm going to end with the Equi token because this is the largest engine that's driving global finance today, and this is how real-world assets are now tokenized and can be now owned fractionally by anyone, anywhere in the world. So imagine that you can own assets, gold, silver, stocks, bonds, property, real estate, anywhere in the world, and you can own it fractionally. What that simply means is that if I have a building and it's worth $1 million and I have it for sale for $1 million, I can put it into 1 million digital tokens. Each token, of course, is just $1. You might decide, you know what, I have $500 or $1,000. I could buy 500 or 1,000 of those tokens. I now own a fractional part of that property. That now is recognized by banking institutions and even within frameworks like our ecosystem, which you can use as collateral, which you can invest, which you can take out loans on, which you can sell, but you can literally now own assets of all types all over the world because it's now affordable because of tokenization. There is another asset called the Project X node, and that now also gives us 200 Phoenix a day. That's 6,000 Phoenix a day. That's over 70,000 Phoenix a year. That is, so it pays our currency 200 a day, and we get 6% dividends on all tokenized projects for life. And right now we are tokenizing some of the largest projects in the world in Africa, Saudi Arabia, and Romania. You'll hear some more about that. That's public information out there. And so this is incredible, incredible income. I'm not going to get into the figures, but and if I were to go into the figures, this is where it begins to look like this is, too good to be true. but there are folks within our ecosystem that are in just the space of a year or less are making incredible incomes. I can tell you that since 6 months for me, being in this from my initial investment, it has increased more than 900% since I've been part of the project. I'm going to just come down to a close with just to show a 2-minute clip of this interview with our chairman. But I want us to get it that owning the assets, I just talked about the payment systems. I talked about the tokenizing. We're owning the very infrastructure of the blockchain that's running the entire ecosystem. And in addition to that, we can get to own assets, physical assets of high value anywhere in the world for just fractions. Talk about building wealth. This is something that has never existed for the average person before. So just take a listen to just this 2-minute clip.
I'm with the CEO of Wall Street Capital, Doug Anderson. Doug, welcome back. And I understand you have some news to break.
Yeah, it's very exciting. You know, Wall Street Capital Partners has been around almost 30 years now. And I can't think of a better place and a better person to announce this news to. It's very exciting, a first in our history. But we have opened a new subsidiary, Wall Street Capital Partners Asset Strategies. And this new subsidiary is majority owned by Metaterra Holdings, which is associated with another company, which we know is Miracle Pay and Miracle Chain. Now, what does Miracle Pay, what are they known for? As I've explained before on this program, they are experts and leaders at payment systems for crypto. So using your wallet, paying with your phone, transactionally from POS machines and over the internet. So they're the leaders in that. There's another thing they do. They do tokenization. So they're experts at that. And as you know, we're now working focused on tokenizing one of the largest real-world assets in the world, which is an airport in Bucharest. We're working hard at that. But there's another one that may even eclipse that, which is we're going to announce right now. It's very exciting. It's called a TINU token, after the founder of a very strong, probably one of the fastest growing companies in Africa that's very successful, an oil and gas company called Oando. And its founder and chairman and group leader is Wale Tinubu. So Tinubu token. And what this token represents is an African fund. We're tokenizing an African fund that is going to be backed by very substantial real-world assets out of Africa. And the first that is going to be inside that fund is we're going to start with $200 million worth of oil reserves from Oando. Mr. Tinubu has decided to move forward on putting those assets into this fund, and it'll be followed by about $1 billion in oil reserves. Now, this will be the first token of its kind.
I'm just going to stop there because the first token of its kind, he's talking about what's called a stable coin, a cryptocurrency that is backed by real world assets. I bring that up because it being the first of its kind, which our company is producing and it's going to run, of course, on our chain, there are global giants right now, companies like Walmart, companies like Amazon that are currently exploring their own tokens, their own cryptocurrencies. Why would companies do that? Well, for the same reason that JP Morgan, one of the largest banks in the world, launched their own cryptocurrency last year. It saves them, apart from being another stream of income for them, it saves them literally billions of dollars in transaction fees through the regular banking system. And so our company is leading the way in this. And so with a token like this, the first of its kind in the world, with the world moving in the direction it's in, this is just further validation and confidence that we can have in the company that we have, we are part of, and what it's doing. And so here are available assets that you can look at and you can consider. You can speak to your host partner that's within the ecosystem that might have invited you to the call. We talked about the Miracle Pay, the Project X, there's a Guardian node, but the newest is the Alpha Pass, which is an AI license that you own for life. The Project X node right now is on a special offer from 16 down to 13, and the Alpha Pass from 2350 down to 2100. I think this one closes next week, Tuesday. This one is a limited time offer. I don't have the date. But I'm not going to get into all of these. But as I said, maybe Tuesday, possibly Wednesday, I'm going to do another session where I'm going to highlight a couple of the aspects of the ecosystem, which would include the Alpha Pass and this AI license that we will own for life, and what it means and how it works within the ecosystem is actually incredible in terms of earning potential. And so there's a limited time pre-IPO packages that they've offered where you can have 5, 7, or 9 different nodes among what you see up here. If you look at the value, it's incredible. And so you're looking at multiple streams of income, and the kind of wealth that this can build would be, most people would actually be quite surprised. It may sound like a stretch of an investment, and for some people it would be, but believe me when I tell you, all of this here is literally a giveaway for what you'll get, and they're going to soon be gone. When they're gone, they're going to be gone for good. And so finally, I'm just going to end on this. The company is expanding globally rapidly right now through all the corporate efforts on their side, but also internally by those of us who are partners with the company. We are actively involved, those of us who choose to, because it's optional, we are actively involved in economic expansion as well. That's why you're here on the call. We are now inviting people to explore participating in the economy in a different way. And in the world of crypto, just like Billy said on that short, this is not about buying and selling and trading in crypto. That's fine, but that's a lot of speculation and it has a lot more risk. This is owning the infrastructure behind the scenes, which is where stability and long-term growth is, without having to worry about if the price of the coin is going up or down. We don't have to worry about that. We are talking about owning infrastructure. And so we share and we invite people to be able to participate in this evolving economy in a new way. And people say, oh, this is not traditional network marketing, but networking is the most efficient business model that has ever been developed. And we do it naturally. We find something that we like, we find a value, we just naturally share it with other people. So networking is quite a natural thing. It is just the concept and how it might have been used in the past and how models have been built around it that has given it a bit of a stigma. But in this one, it doesn't carry the regular friction. Here's what I mean. Because we don't have consumable products, there's no continuous of selling that needs to be done. It's just only to be aligned in participating in the economy. And there are lots of ways we can participate. So there's no ongoing recruiting in order to grow your income, because it's just shared access. Our income is not dependent on whether people join or not. Our income is driven by the assets that we own. There is no monthly authorships to qualify to earn because you're a stakeholder in the whole system. There is no attrition or people falling out to depend on in order to get an income, which is how it is in most network marketing models. We just have the flow-based growth because the value economy is expanding, the value keeps expanding, and the value keeps circulating back to all participants. And that's what makes it a revenue sharing environment. And it's also why we call it shared prosperity. So there's no annual renewals to do because you own infrastructure. So the regular friction that goes along with regular networking is not involved in this. We call it Aladdin, AI leveraged, asset-driven digital income network. So if all of these things are so, then how is the money being paid out? There are 9 optional streams of digital income that's available to those of us who choose to participate in expanding the ecosystem. 20% of note earnings, that's why I want you to remember that, 50% of service fees, plus purchases that people make of different assets, they go into, actually it's more than 9 streams of income. And that income is paid to us in a different cryptocurrency called USDT, which is the US dollar-backed cryptocurrency. And for those who think that, well, this type of purchases of assets is out of reach for me, well, there is really no cost to have an account with Bellator Life. You can register and for free, you can learn, and you can earn. As you register, you will have your full suite of your back office with all the information. When you learn about the ecosystem, when you attend our community programs and you see the value of this and what this is doing for people's lives around the world, when you learn about it, even if you cannot afford an asset, you share the value of it with others, and you have 4 new active partners that begin to participate, you earn your asset. Now you're on your way. In addition to that, the company has other programs of how you can get fractions of an asset and just work your way in up to a full asset. So the company has made it affordable and available to anyone, anywhere in the world, as long as you have an internet connection. But ladies and gentlemen, you would have gotten a sense from what I shared with you. There's a lot more to this than what I've shared with you, but tonight was just to give you a sense of how we can all participate in a global economy through, it's an ownership-based, asset-driven type economy that where everyone prospers from it. This is the gateway to ownership through Bellator Life, and ownership changes anywhere. Ownership will always change how value flows to us. So we are looking at moving away from the old economy. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, as we close, this is not a world that is coming. We are in the midst of change. And people are struggling more and more financially. That's not going to change. That's going to remain, and it's going to become tougher. We are either the systems that we depended on, they're becoming obsolete. And those of us who either don't recognize the global shift that's taking place, or we recognize or we see the shift, but we don't quite fully understand what's happening. Unless we make a shift, unless we begin to embrace the new economy, the new world that's unfolding, we can find ourselves paddling upstream even harder. So I want to welcome each and every one of you to explore looking further into joining this revolution where ownership, technology, and people come together for shared prosperity. You're not going to find anything like this anywhere on the planet. It doesn't exist. And this is something that's accessible to everyone. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for being on the call, for taking the time to be here. And I want to encourage you to reach out to the host that would have invited you to be a part of the information here, and they'll be able to guide you through what your next steps would be. With that, I am going to leave you with our anthem, and we'll take you out with that. God bless you. Thank you very much. for taking the time for being on the call.
Building the world on the chain, turning the future from cold to flame. Trust in the blood, trust in the plan. Mediterra, here we stand. Mediterra, light the way. New tomorrow starts today. From the dust we rise again. Mediterra, we believe we win. Every transaction, every line, carving a path through space and time. From local dreams to global skies, Mediterra, we realize. Mediterra, light the way. New tomorrow starts today. From the dust we rise again. Mediterra, we believe we win. Dreams in motion, bold and clear. The future's calling, we are near. Hand in hand across the chain. Together we'll rise, together we'll gain. Mediterra, light the way. New tomorrow starts today. From the dust we rise again. Mediterra, we believe we win. Mediterra, light the way. New tomorrow starts today. From the dust we rise again. Mediterra, we believe we win. New tomorrow starts today. We believe we win. Light the way. Our tomorrow starts today. Oh, Mediterra, we believe.